I'm Jed Hill here on the We Do Recover show at Youngstown Studio. Today we have a guest in with us today I'm really excited about. We have Markus McFolling. Markus, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Absolutely. What's going on, everybody? My name is Markus McFolling, born and raised Seaside, California. Excited to be here today.
Yeah. So in this show, I asked Markus to come down and share a little bit of his story, his experience, strength, and hope of what he's been through and how he's battled his addiction and how he's got through it, who his biggest supporters are and all that. So Markus, where actually did you start off in your addiction?
Absolutely. So my addiction was birthed really in 2014. I was playing in San Antonio in the Arena Football League for the San Antonio Talons, and there was a blocking drill that I was doing. And in that blocking drill, I completely cracked my clavicle, tore my rotator cuff, and tore my labrum. And this is in 2014. So prior to that, I had never done drugs. Prior to that, I had never done anything crazy. And so I was just focused on the game, but I was prescribed pain medication. And I would say that I was absolutely overprescribed. So that's probably where my addiction started.
Yeah, my story is very similar to that with the getting prescribed it. And then obviously as addicts, we don't take what we're prescribed. We do the extra, one is too many and 1,000 is never enough, they say. So after football, so you ended up playing football for who in college?
So I played at Malone University. Shout out to MU out here in Canton, Ohio. It was a funny story how I even got to Malone, where I'm in my junior college library in 2008. My friend shows me this website, and I see this school, and I saw the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I'm in California, so I'd never really heard of Ohio. I'm like, you know what? I need to go to that school. I called the coach up. I said, hey, coach, you don't know who I am, but if you offer me a scholarship, it'd be the best scholarship you ever offered.
Come on.
2 weeks later, I was on a full-ride scholarship in Canton, Ohio.
Malone, there you go. So. Closed mouth don't get fed.
Come on, that's right.
Yeah. So now, you played football there. Now in high school, what kind of accomplishments did you have in high school?
Yeah, so high school, I was a pretty good athlete. I rushed for 1,500 yards my senior year. I only played in 2 full games because the coaches would ask for me to be out. Average 10 yards a carry, I think 18 touchdowns. I had a number of Division I scholarship offers, but, when it came to school, Markus just, I just didn't really apply myself.
I got you. Okay. Yeah. So after football, so you played football, you exceeded in football, and then you got hurt. That's devastating. I mean, it's a shot to the ego. We all know. It's like, what do we do next? So obviously you started with a drug addiction. It wasn't the street drugs, but it was subscribed by the doctors. So in your mind, I'm sure you were thinking like, hey, this isn't a problem. Where did you actually start in your addiction to realize, hey, you know what, maybe I'm an addict?
For sure. And like even going back prior to my addiction, I was psychologically depressed, right? So when you have somebody that's psychologically depressed and you're like, hey, guess what? Take this medication. It's going to make you feel better. It numbed the pain. My identity was rooted in football. So I'm 26 years old, and growing up in the inner city, the only thing I wanted to do was go to the NFL. That's it. And so seeing my dreams, especially working out for NFL teams, just completely go up in smoke, I was so depressed. And so the only thing that brought me comfort was taking the medication. That was the only thing. And so, I started off by just taking it as prescribed. I would justify it because my name was on a pill bottle. It's so easy to justify when your name's on a pill bottle, but it didn't click to me that my doctors gave me a fentanyl patch, instant release oxycodone, and extended release morphine. I'm taking 3 different powerful narcotics, but it didn't click to me that they were legitimately creating a physical dependent drug addict. But then when you mix that with psychological depression, I was completely deceived, and that was, what really led me down.
Yeah, because it's like, who's Markus?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You had no idea,
I didn't know who I was.
Identity.
Football's over. Exactly.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So now that you guys prescribed, now how long was your drug addiction?
1,077 days to be exact.
Wow. Pain.
About 3 years, man.
Pain. You don't forget that pain, huh?
Never forget that pain.
Yeah. So now, when you went through that, what was your wake up call?
Man, so there was a number of things that were trying to get my attention, but I did not. There were a lot of people in my life that were telling me I shouldn't do drugs. There were a lot of people in my life that were telling me I was more than a football player, but when you've lived that for 26 years, your entire life, that's the only thing you care about. It's hard to see what you're telling me. We look at addicts now, we say there's so much more to life, but they don't see that. It's so easy for us to say it because we see. But to tell a blind person to open their eyes, it's hard. It's difficult. But my wake-up call, man, came June 16, 2017. June 16, 2017. I had gone to so many different doctors. So I want everybody who's watching to understand how bad my addiction was. in Texas, I had team doctors. They would give me all the drugs that I wanted. Well, my wife gets pregnant. I didn't have my dad growing up. So I was like, you know what? I was becoming the father that I didn't want to be. And so I was like, you know what, babe, talking about my wife, we need to go back to Ohio because I went to a Christian school. All of our friends are pastors and everything. I'm like, okay, let's get back up there. But for anybody that's listening, if you don't deal with your issues, if you don't actually face your problems head on, they're going to follow you wherever you go. You can't run away. Yeah. And I couldn't run away. So I came to Ohio and I started going to all kinds of different doctors. I went to doctors in the ER because I didn't have a team doctor anymore. So I'm like, okay, my shoulder hurts. I had a really bad injury where I can dislocate my shoulder. I'm going to go to every emergency room in Ohio. And so I went to 38 different doctors for 59 prescriptions in 5 months. Wow. Well, that's against the law. You can't do that. Right. I was charged with 3 felonies, deception to obtain a dangerous drug. And you would think that that would be my wake-up call, right?
Right.
It wasn't. Addiction was so strong. It was so crippling where June 16, 2017, I had warrants for my arrest. My wife knows this. And I had hurt her so much. She musters up the courage to call the cops on me. She didn't know what life was going to be like, but she's like, right. You know what? It's got to be better than this. So she called the cops, and I'll never forget seeing the police pull around front. And I remember handing my 7-month-old daughter to the police, and they took me away. And you would think that that was a wake-up call, right?
Right.
Everyone would think that's a wake-up call.
Yeah.
Wow, I'd never been to jail before. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sitting in a cell. And after everything that just happened, my wife left me. I'm giving my daughter to the police. The only thing that I could think about were the 12 pills I had inside my house.
Wow.
I get released on an OR bond. So I come back home, everything's gone. My wife's gone, everything's gone. I take the 12 pills, and for the next 3 days, I contemplated suicide. Yeah. The one thing that helped me hold on was my wife let me FaceTime my daughter. She let me FaceTime my daughter on June 19th, my first Father's Day, 2017. And I looked at my daughter, I said, Daddy's gonna do something with his life. I'm gonna make it. Yeah. I'm going to be in your life.
Come on.
And I checked myself into rehab, man. And I say it like this, the devil should have killed me when he had me. So,
now,
oh yeah, it's over
my
now.
father's business.
Come on,
okay,
man.
then.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's it, man.
For sure.
So now, so you went to jail, and what were your repercussions? You got an OR bond?
Yeah, so I just think the faithfulness of God in those moments, he was continuing to show himself true to me time and time again. There's many moments where I probably shouldn't be here to this day, right. But God kept me. And so one of the things I really wanted to focus on was being a man of integrity. For the first time in my life, I know that I went to these doctors, so I had a public defender. I'm like, you know what? I did it. I'm actually going to be a man of integrity. I'm going to plead guilty. Now, anybody that's listening, no, that's absolutely crazy. Like, wait a minute, you've never been in trouble before. You're going to plead guilty. But the conviction that I had, because when I checked myself into rehab, I realized the error of my ways. Yeah. I realized that I messed up and I need to fess up so that I can get up and keep moving forward. Okay. And so I checked myself. I talked to my public defender. I said, hey, we're going to plead guilty. And I'll never forget, I pled guilty on November 1st. 2017, Judge Chrissy Hartnett. Never forget that day, because it wasn't like I was like, man, I did it. Right. Guilty. Yep. Yeah. I did it. No. I was terrified. Yeah. Because my life could potentially look really different. Yeah. I have a heart that wants to work with young people. I love young people. But I was like, you know what? It was more important that I needed to be a man of integrity in that moment. So I pled guilty. And she looked at me and said she had never had somebody be so honest in her courtroom. She told me to complete Teen Challenge and will act as if this never happened, so I sit before you without a record whatsoever. And that's the faithfulness of God, because I had to come to a place where I completely surrendered. A lot of people who are in addiction, if you're listening to this and you're in addiction, it's not about getting clean. Like, it's not about clean time. I didn't go to rehab to get clean time and get a certificate. I went to rehab because I wanted a completely new life, a fresh perspective. Yeah. I wanted more because nobody ever told me, so I thought that there was more to life. So God showed up in a big way. Wow. Yeah, man.
Wow. So I know you touched on losing your wife in that addiction and the baby. So this next question is obviously it's going to be an easy one for you, but what was like the person you hurt the most during your addiction, and now that you're clean and now that you're living your best life, per se, how has that relationship evolved?
Yeah, I would say without question, the person I hurt the most is my wife. I think any time a man takes a woman's hand in marriage, you're telling her that you're going to take care of her. You're telling her that you're going to have a partner. You're telling her that you're going to do everything to protect her. And for the first 3 years of my marriage, I did the complete opposite. Right. And yet she still stayed. And so I hurt her. And I can remember when she called the cops on me, I was extremely upset. I was mad. I was deceived. I didn't know. But I realized that was the most courageous thing that anybody has ever done. Yeah. And she may have been doing it for herself, but she was doing it for me as well. And so definitely my wife, but how restoration came over the 13 months I was away. I was in a program and it was different, man. The way that I think about it, it was like a greenhouse. It was a greenhouse for growth. It was the perfect situation for somebody to grow and realize the error of their ways and actually work to fix them if they want to. Because there's a lot of people that go through rehab and then they get out and they go right back to their mess. Yeah. Listen, I didn't sleep for 8 days because I was withdrawn. I told myself, if it was withdrawals alone, I'm never going through this again. There's no way. I took 20 showers a day, but how just restoration was brought. We could only talk to each other for 15 minutes a week, but it was just enough to where she, we both needed completely different things. I needed comfort. I needed, a sense of home because I was completely disconnected from the world, and she needed to vent. For 3 years, her husband was somebody that was not who she married. Yeah. And so, but she stayed the course and she stayed committed to the marriage. And that in and of itself, man, I can't say with enough words how thankful I am for her.
Yeah. For sure. So needless to say, that relationship's just blossomed.
We've got 2 beautiful little girls now. I see that. Yeah, man, we own a business together called Reach One, and we're just rocking and rolling.
Yeah. So hey, tell me a little bit about the Reach One. I mean, I see it online. Absolutely. I see how inspirational you are to these kids. I see I go online and I'll Google on YouTube, inspiring stories, and you pop up. You know what I mean? Tell me about Reach One and how you came about. What brought that on?
Absolutely. So I'm in rehab. I'm big on dates. People probably like, man, this dude just really doesn't keep a notebook of dates. What kind of? So October 4th, my spiritual father comes to see me, and I was like focused on trying to build and do, because as somebody that's wired like an athlete, and you probably can relate to this, our mentality is I need to work for approval. I need to score touchdowns because I need you to think well of me. And I can remember him telling me, son, stop what you're doing. You are not a human doing. You're a human being. I'm like, So it's not about what I can do. And then he pointed me to the word, and I can remember reading in the Bible where it talks about how I'm already accepted in the beloved. Yeah. How there's not something that I need to do to feel accepted or loved.
Ephesians 6.
Come on, man, Ephesians 1. Got a tattoo right there. Come on, somebody. Okay. I got you are my beloved right here too, because it's something that completely shifted the way I saw myself. Yeah. But then October 12th, 8 days later, I'm reading Luke 15, and I'm opening up my Bible, and I'm in class. Of course, Markus is not paying attention. I was in the Word. Listen, I was in the Word. You know what? Hey, judge me if you want.
Okay.
But I'm reading Luke 15, and the Lord begins to speak to me. And as I'm reading the story of the lost sheep, he tells me I'm the lost sheep that he left the 99 for. I saw my value in the scriptures. Yeah. He said, never make ministry about number. Every person has infinite value to him. Come on now. He said, go out there and win my children. Then I heard Reach One. It stands for reconciling every abandoned child home.
Ooh, say that one more time.
Come on, reconciling every abandoned child home. Wow. We have the ministry of reconciliation. So I took that and ran with it. I mean, it's funny because the guys who were in the program with me, I was literally like a little girl in middle school writing Reach One on everything. It was like, because I knew that it was going to happen. But you remember, let's check this out. What's crazy about it all is October 12th, I hadn't pled guilty to the felonies yet. My relationship with my wife was not in a good place. I did not know what I was going to do with my life. All I had was a promise. And the Bible tells us in Corinthians, all God's promises in him are yes and amen. So I held on to that promise. I'm like, he said it. Yeah. I don't have to do it.
Hold him to it.
I said, you know what? You said it. Yep. I'm going to do my part. I'm going to remain faithful. And he showed up. So what's crazy is exactly a year later, October 12th, 2018, I get a call on October 11th from a school out in Ashland. Say, hey, Markus, we heard your story. We want you to come inspire our students. October 12th, Reach One was born. And I've been doing it ever since.
Keeps his promises,
Come on,
right?
He sure does.
Hey. So now you're in the Reach One program now. And what's your dream for Reach One? What's your dream?
Man, you got enough time?
I got the time. You know, we talk about visions. I know in California Palms, I'm working on vision boards for the guys, right? Sure. You know, we talk about just for today.
Absolutely.
If we stay clean and different programs and that, but we want to talk about what if just for today we put together 365 just for today. What's your life going to look like?
Absolutely.
Well, what's Reach One going to look like?
Yeah.
In the future for you,
Absolutely.
if you put those days together.
So I firmly believe this. You know, the Bible talks about we manifest what we think of. Like, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. That's found in Proverbs 23. If I don't think rightly about myself, then it's impossible for me to live the life that I think. It's impossible to have a positive life with a negative mindset. So many people say that they have dreams and all this, that, and the third, but what is your mouth saying? What are you speaking over yourself? I'm all big about self-talk. Listen, I tell myself who I am every single day.
Speak it into existence.
I don't have bad days. I have bad moments.
Yeah.
But I don't let those bad moments turn into bad days anymore. Right. And so
I have a character building day instead of a bad day.
That's right.
You know
exactly. I like that. I'm going to use that. That's good, man. That's really, I think middle schoolers will love that character building day. But Reach One in the future, we're believing God for a facility. We really want to help those in addiction. But we also, my wife has a desire to help people who've been through domestic violence and abuse. And I deeply desire to help young people at a young age see who they are. Right. Because if somebody would have told me when I was 10 years old, hey, Markus, here's a camera. Why don't you start taking pictures? You know what, Markus? Hey, here's a notebook. Start writing. I want to expose young people to the different, different areas of life. Because how I grew up, you were one of two things. You were a rapper or you played ball.
Yeah.
And not that those things are wrong. Like, football has been good to me.
Right.
But there's so much more to life. And I think Reach One, in the heart of Reach One, we're going to carry that message all around the world. Yeah. I really believe that. And I love preaching the word. I love telling people who they are. I believe the mandate on my life is to preach identity from sons to servants, or from servants to sons back to servants. Like, we're going to be servants for the King in a new way in 2021. Right. So
that's awesome. Speaking of speaking, I know this Friday night is recovery night at Bridge of Hope's Church.
Come on.
7580 Glenwood Avenue. If you guys are out there, and again, this is not just for addicts. This is for people that are struggling through their lives. And if people put that identity on addicts, like, oh, they're drug addicts, but it's so much more than just. Absolutely. I mean, addicts can be, as we talked about, it could be porn, it could be gambling, it could be anything that. That messes you up today, anything you're addicted to. So like, and then people who just care. So like, we need people to be loving on these guys and people who are struggling, right?
Yeah.
So we have this recovery night at Bridge of Hope's Church. Markus is going to be up there.
Yeah, man. Come on
I'm excited about it. We're going to have, it's going to be a great outcome. We have kids ministry available there, so there's absolutely no excuse not to come.
No excuse, man. Pull up.
Yeah, pull up. Check us out. We need this as a valley, just to show people that we do recover. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
People get in those dark places and those pits they think they can never get out of.
Absolutely.
But what happens when we do get out of these pits?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? What could your life look like?
Come on, man.
So like, we're excited about recovery night coming up. Markus is going to be there. Again, that's 7580 Glenwood Avenue, Bridge of Hope's Church, and that's going to be 7:00. Markus, so like, as we talk about addiction and all that, and you fought through your addiction part, right?
Yeah.
And as we talk about, with new levels brings new devils, right?
Man,
so like, what are those devils today looking like for you?
So whenever you overcome something as strong as addiction, the devil's not sitting back and just like, all right, well, I'll just let him go. No, he's coming after you even stronger. And if you don't have the right people, places, and things. We talk about this in recovery. Listen, you got to have the right people, go to the right places, and do the right things in your life. You're going to find yourself right back in the mess.
Right.
No matter what. So I would say, I think a lot of the issues that I face now are probably geared towards more I'm very self-reflective. I think internally a lot about, okay, what's it like to be on the other side of myself? Shout out to Giant Worldwide. My wife and I went through leadership development, and they've taught me how to look internally. Like, I would always blame everybody else for my mistakes. It's my doctor's fault for giving me the pills.
Yeah.
It's that coach's fault for making me block that 350-pound man. Yeah. It's my wife's fault for not doing this. It's my brother's fault. It's my mama's fault. No, Markus, what is your role to play in it? Yeah. Some of us are dealt a crummy hand in life. I'm not trying to negate that. But when you get to a place from saying, woe is me, to great is he who is in thee than he who's in the world, man, it shifts everything.
It does.
And so for me, man, I think more than anything, it's the tether that I struggle the most with is not necessarily having one foot in the world and one foot out, because I'm completely with Jesus, but like I want to be around people who smell like hell, because I want to win the lost. I know what it's like to be where they're at, but I have to learn that there are certain areas I can't put myself in. I can't put myself, in situations to be around people that are going to do bad things. I just can't. But I think even in, pride. There's a lot of different, if we're going to be super honest.
Right. Hey. How long we got?
Well, I'll be here for a while. There's a lot of things the Lord is doing in my heart.
Yeah.
For sure.
Through this whole process, so you lost Markus, right?
Yeah.
You lost your identity.
Yeah.
If you could sum yourself up
Yeah.
in just a sentence,
Yeah.
who is Markus today?
Man.
Might need to think about that for a second, but who is Markus today? Who's your identity today?
Yeah. I think more than anything, Markus is accepted. Markus is a son. Markus is loved.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that God is going to use Markus to change the world.
Yeah.
I believe that in my heart. But it doesn't come from a place of doing it. It comes from beloved identity. I know myself as a son of God, and he accepts me. So guess what? If there's people who watching or anybody in the studio, if you don't like me, it doesn't bother me, because I know my Father in heaven loves me.
Right.
And like, that's what I want every person to be able to say and mean it.
Right.
I used to say that all the time.
Yeah.
It's easy to talk it, but
Right.
to really internalize that and live it, like things completely change, man. So
Yeah, that's good, man. So someone listening out there today who has a friend, family member that's stuck in addiction, and they're listening to this show, and what would you tell them to tell their friend or family member to help them?
Absolutely. First thing I would say to a person who knows somebody in addiction, the first thing I want you to realize that they are a person. They're not an addict. Like nobody wakes up and says, hey, I want to be a drug addict today. I want to grow up and hurt my wife and hurt my children. And I want to grow up and overdose and almost die. Nobody does that. Mm-hmm. I want you to realize that they are a person and they're hurting. I know that the mistakes that we've made or the mistakes that they're making right now hurt. And I'm not trying to minimize those, but never look at them any less than who God created them to be. They are accepted and loved. And so what I would say is, if you know somebody that's struggling, the first thing that you can do is be present. But you have to know your limitations. You can't be like my wife. She knew her limitations. She's like, I can't keep staying in this relationship. I need to do something. And it's okay to do something. It's okay to draw your line in the sand. But just remember this, in drawing that line in the sand, don't forget to tell them that, hey, I'm still for you. Because what happens is a lot of us feel abandoned. And I've lost 26 friends in the last 2 years to overdose. And it's not the person who abandoned them's fault, because ultimately we're the ones that make the choice. But support system is so important. I would not be here where I am today without the support system that rallied around my wife when I was gone. Shout out to Third Street Community Church and the Hunka family for really being present in my wife's life and in my life, because support is everything. But I would tell you, listen, tell them if they're struggling, there's hope.
Yeah.
There is hope. If you've still got breath in your lungs, it means there's still purpose in your life. And today may suck, but tomorrow can always be better. But it starts with choices today.
Yeah, that's good.
For sure, man.
That's good. So now, as we go through this, I know that Markus has been a football player. He's a great speaker. He's all this. But Markus, what's one thing that we don't know about you?
Oh, man.
We don't know about you. A lot of people don't know about you. What's one thing that Markus is good at?
Wow. So one thing, I call myself Chef Markus. I
knew you were going there, bro. I knew it. I love
cooking,
the pictures.
Man. And it's funny because my wife and I we're kind of laying out the blueprint for Reach One moving forward. We hope to have Reach One Cuisine be launched at some point this year. I love being able to create a meal for somebody. My wife is an extremely picky eater. For those of you guys that know Chelsea, she, chicken nuggets and French fries. That's her lane.
Okay.
I love her for it, but I want to make some risotto or some homemade mac and cheese, or I want to cook a steak, or, I want to be able to make some fall off the bone barbecue ribs with my homemade barbecue sauce, smoke them for 6 hours. See, you get me going, boy. I love cooking. It makes me come alive. But I would say that's probably something that people don't know about me, is that I absolutely love. And it's more so being able to create a memory and a moment with somebody than anything. That's really the harder reach one. So
yeah,
man.
So I work at California Palms. I'm a substance abuse counselor up there. I deal with this every day. You know what I mean? Guys who come in and they're not ready yet. What would you say, like, someone has to hit the rock bottom in order to be ready to recover? What's someone's rock bottom? I mean, I know other people have different rock bottoms. Like, what was your final rock bottom? I know you said you gave your daughter to the police and all that, but like, so these guys aren't ready yet. They'll come in and for a couple of days and they leave.
For sure.
Like, and it's hard because everybody's rock bottom is different.
For sure.
Like, what would you say to somebody like that?
I would say, man, and I just really, I believe it in my heart that somebody's struggling right now watching this video or you're watching the playback. What I would tell you is, aren't you tired? Aren't you tired of being tired? Like, are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Like, I understand the desire to use. I understand, how it feels so crippling. I don't want you to hit a quote unquote rock bottom and mess around and die.
Right.
I've lost a lot of friends that way. Most recently, a week ago. I don't want that to happen for you. So what I would say is, listen, you've got to find people in your life. Reach out to me. Reach out to you. Like, we're here.
Right.
This is exactly what we're put on earth to do, is to help. Like, it isn't about anything other than helping you get to where you need to be, because some of you guys have kids. Some of you guys have wives that you want to get back to, you want to be healthy for. Some of you don't want to keep hurting your parents or your uncles. Some of you don't want to keep being alienated from your friends. And I don't want to scare anyone into rehab. But you've got to come willing and surrendered. Right. Like, you've got to be completely surrendered, or guess what? You're going to go right back out there.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's good. So, like, you talk about losing people, and like, we're at 4,100 some deaths just 1 year in Ohio alone. And I know I've prayed over people, and it's like the hardest thing to do is to talk to someone who's lost somebody, and they want to say, how could God do this to me?
For sure.
What would you say to someone who said, how could God do this to me and take my child or take my whoever it is, significant other, from me?
For sure.
Like, what would you say to someone about that?
And I've been in situations like this many times where, words don't do justice when we lose somebody. They don't, especially when you lose them prematurely. I would first of all say, it's such a hard thing to hear, but God didn't take anybody from you. God didn't take your son or your daughter. I believe that God is good. I believe that God is sovereign. I believe wholeheartedly in Romans 8:28 that God works all things together for the good for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. I personally believe that not a single tear is ever wasted. But I would tell them, man, let's shift our focus away from God and realize the situation for what it is. If it's somebody in addiction, even when I was in the midst of my addiction, I very much knew what I was doing.
Right.
I did. I wasn't, my doctors may have overprescribed me, but I knew what I was doing.
Right.
But I don't want people to turn from God in those moments. He wants us to turn to him, because that's where hope is found. That's where comfort is found. I would encourage them to read Romans 5, where it talks about trials and tribulations and how it produces perseverance, and perseverance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope doesn't disappoint. Right. So there's a process. I think suffering in life is something that's not preached a lot about. We don't want to talk about that.
Right.
If it don't feel good, listen, I'm a 7 on the Enneagram. I don't like feeling pain, but listen, I understand something about the suffering. Even most recently, I ended up getting coronavirus about a month ago, to the point where I was in ICU.
Oh yeah.
I was like, the doctors were saying, hey, we're going to put you on the ventilator. And fear tries to grip me. Right. Fear tries to grip me for the first time in a long time. And I had to remind myself, God didn't give me, but listen, it's easy to quote the scriptures when you ain't going through it. I'm sitting on this hospital bed with this big old mask on my face, and I'm trying to quote 1 Timothy 1:7, God can give us a spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. But it was hard.
Yeah.
But I realized that the perseverance from that moment was going to produce something inside of me. And I had to come and know that even if something happened, that God was still good. Yeah. When I was in rehab, even if my wife leaves me forever and I can never see my daughter, God is still good. I'm not going to allow the situations around me to determine the peace within me. Ooh. If God is inside of me, I'm peaceful in every moment. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't struggle. Listen, this thing right here, this flesh, it hurts when it dies. Yeah. But we need to die in order to see the goodness of God in a new way.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, man.
That's good, man. Yeah, so like, so now we go through all this, and then we know a little bit about Markus, and I know you guys are going to come check him out at Recovery Night. I mean, this dude will preach the paint off the walls. I'm telling you. So you definitely want to come and see that. And now we got. We're going through the show. We do recover. And I'm going to bring people in to the show. I know I have Maurice Claret coming in at the end of the month. I have Kelly Pavlik coming in next month. And these are just stories, you know, I think that we need to hear as a valley. And people, like, there is hope.
Come on.
You know what I mean? There is hope in this whole addiction thing. People do recover. Don't give up. Don't give up. That's the key right there. So I know there's people out there right now, and as Markus said, he feels it as well, that there are people out there that are suffering, and people on both sides, not just the addict, but the family of the addict. So like there is hope. You know what I mean? Like he said, if there's still breath in his lungs, there's still hope for him. So we got to keep that in mind as a valley, as a community, to not give up and to reach out. Reach one, right?
Come on, reach
That's what
one.
he said. He said,
Somebody.
reach one.
That's right.
So I'm going to shout him out and hashtag that one,
man.
reach one. So it's been great. I don't see any comments on here right now. Do you have any comments on yours as far as any questions that people are wanting to ask?
Shout out to my moms in California watching. What's
Okay,
up,
Mom.
mommy? My
Okay, Mom.
Yeah, man. What's up, Rachel? What's up, Crystal? Anyone that I just really want anybody that's ever been around somebody in addiction. I think all of us can probably think of somebody right now that's still alive,
right,
that we've written off. You know, it's hard because I know, I'm not saying go and put yourself in a relationship where it can be harmful to you. Like, there's 3 ways that I govern my life. What does my weakness say about it? Am I going to do something to cause my brother to stumble? And is it going to hurt my witness? Like, those 3 things, like, I want you to realize, like, when you are speaking life to somebody, life is life. You can say to somebody like, hey, don't give up.
Right.
You know the best revelation you can ever tell somebody in addiction? That Jesus loves them.
Yeah.
That revelation alone. Because I firmly believe, man, listen, I've talked with doctors, I've talked with a lot of different people about addiction, and I understand brain receptors, you know, and one of the things I would love to say is a lot of us, you know, make the excuse and say addiction is a disease. And I used to do that because I believe that it is. For the longest, I was like, it's not a disease, it's a choice. And this before I was an addict. Yeah. It's a choice. Well, let me ask you a question. Let's think about gum disease. Can smoking cigarettes cause gum disease? So a choice can cause a disease. Right. So don't minimize what somebody's going through. Speak life to them. Yeah. In my lowest moments, like I'm thankful for the people that said, Markus, you're going to make it. Even though I didn't listen in that moment, it was a seed that was planted. Yeah. It was a seed that was planted, and then the next person came and watered it, you know, and then God brought the increase. And now I'm able to be a husband and a father. Yeah. I wake up every single day and I don't fixate for a drug.
It's a beautiful thing.
I used to wake up and be like, man, I've been to that hospital 4 times. I've been there 6 times. Oh, God, I guess I got to go to Pennsylvania. Yeah. None of that anymore. That's great. Like, there's so much hope in life. Yeah. And listen, COVID has been hard on so many of us. I understand how we want to self-medicate. We want to do these things that make us feel good. But I'm telling you, man, there's something so much better that will make you feel so much better for the rest of your life. That's it. Because that's what I found, and that's what changed my life. That's it. That's what changed my life, and his name is Jesus. So. Amen. Yeah, man. So now we go through, when would you tell someone the difference between enabling someone and helping someone? For sure. Man, that's a phenomenal question. Enabling a person, I would ask, to what degree do you, is it hurting you, right? Is it hurting you, and is it putting them in a situation where they're going to depend on you for something? If your son keeps asking you for money, and the only reason why you're giving it to him is because you're afraid he's going to do something crazy, you might be enabling him. Right. Like, sometimes, listen, I had to do some crazy things in order for some things to happen that led me down the path that led me down. You can't put yourself at risk. You can't put your kids at risk. It's okay to walk away. Yeah. That's the one thing that my wife is big on, and just really, and I'm thankful that she has that perspective, because she saw how much she was enabling me. She wasn't challenging me. She was like, you know what, it's okay. Your doctor's prescribed it. Right. But then she got to a point, she's like, enough is enough. And so I think helping, you can always speak life to somebody. Right. Always. Hey, I'm here for you. People hit me up all the time, especially people who are in addiction. They're like, hey, man, I need this. I just need $60 for a room. I'm like, well, how about this? I know a place where you can go for 13 months.
Ooh, come on now.
See, and then they don't want that because they don't really want help. So I'm like, all right, cool. Hey, I'm here for you. I'll pray for you.
So you were there.
And I'll pray for you right now,
Yeah,
you know?
right.
But I'm not going to give you finances and put you in a situation where I'm reading about you in the newspaper. I'm just not going to do it. So.
Right. That's good. Now, do your kids know you're in recovery?
So my daughters are 4 and 1. I talked to Avery about it, and I want them to know. I want them to understand like what Daddy went through for sure.
And what do you think about, so people are getting clean now.
Mm-hmm.
And like, to me, getting clean is the new cool thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying that because I'm clean. I don't know, but I'll make it easy. Follow me. So we stay clean. Now, what's that clean life look like? Now, what should people search for once they get out of the rehabs, once they get out of the Teen Challenge, once they get out of the California Palms, and they're trying to get back in society? They got this little clean time under their belt. They have these tools and stuff in their belt, but it's kind of hard to get back in society when everybody labels you as an addict.
100%.
You know what I mean? And getting labeled as that. There's some of us who can go down different routes like you and I and totally switch it around. But what would you say when someone who's getting out of rehab today and hasn't worked for years because they've been so deep in their addiction and they're starting out? Hey, Markus, what should I do next? We're open for suggestions, right?
Absolutely. Amazing question. So for me, it wasn't easy. When I graduated rehab, now listen, graduation day was the greatest day of my life. I was happy. I had never graduated from anything. Man, I was on cloud 400. But I still came home with so much shame. I came back into the community that I was not a part of for 13 months. And I didn't want to tell my story. I did not want to leave my wife's hip. She would have to like force me out of the house. Like, hey, go hang out with some of the guys. Go to this Bible study. I was like, no, I just want to be with you. I just want to stay here.
Right.
And so I understand the shame when you're labeled. Listen, we're always going to be labeled.
Yeah.
And that's the most freeing thing to realize is you may have these labels. You may have made mistakes where people judge you for them. But I would tell them who they are in the Lord. I would tell them how loved they are. And let's talk about tangible steps. I would get you connected. There's so many resources for people who are ex-felons. I know a lot of people who are hiring people, physical labor type jobs. And the one thing I would tell somebody who's ever been in addiction or who's out, one of your first goals should be to go home and keep a job.
Yeah.
Don't worry about, like, being clean will take care of itself as long as you put yourself in the right situation. Go home and keep a job. The first job I had was cleaning toilets at my church. Shout out to Pastor Corey for giving me that opportunity.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to clean toilets.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it faithfully. Every single week I cleaned those toilets because it was, one, I was just happy to be alive. But go home, and if home is a bad place, people, places, and things, that's where you have to begin the dialogue. Each individual situation is different, so you have to begin the dialogue to, let's set up a plan. And hopefully, in some of these places, you're coming up with a plan before you leave. I've seen people who don't have a plan.
Scary.
Unfortunately, a lot of them aren't here. Yeah. So it's all about having a plan. I knew what I was journaling. I was writing goals down. I'm like, okay, I'm going to apply for this job. I'm going to apply for that job. I'm going to do this if that doesn't work out. And then I just worked the plan. So I'll just say, work your plan.
Step it out. One foot in front of another. That's it.
Absolutely.
And we talk about the visions. So we're working at the Palms right now.
Yeah.
And so we're doing these vision boards, casting visions on our life. Like I said, if we get these 24 hours clean and if they add up and all this, and some of these guys have some unrealistic visions on their board, right? I'm talking about Ferraris and these huge mansions and this and that. Yeah. And what would you tell them about those huge dreams? They're not even visions; they're dreams.
Absolutely.
What would you tell them to get them back down to earth?
Absolutely. So what I would tell somebody that has really audacious dreams, that it's not really a dream. If there's no plans or steps, it's not a dream; it's a wish. You're just wishing that would happen. And so I'm a firm believer in, if somebody has, so let's say their crazy dream is to get a Ferrari. Yeah. Me personally, I don't really care for a Ferrari, but if you want a Ferrari and you want to work towards that, like whatever tickles your fancy, have a plan. Right. How are you going to do it? You think it's just going to fall out of the sky?
Right.
What are you going to invest some money? What are you going to do to actually get there? If you don't have a plan, anybody that doesn't have a plan in their life, you're literally going to be walking around in circles.
Yeah.
Or like a person running in the same place, thinking you're going somewhere, but you're not going anywhere because there's no step. Now, I'm all about vision. Listen, anybody that knows me, I got a lot of vision. I see big, I dream big, but I've learned to transition my dreams and turn them into goals. And I break those goals down, like reach one. I'm going to speak here. After I spoke, they paid me to come and speak to these kids. It was mind-blowing to me that somebody would pay me just to talk. I'm like, yeah, you're going to pay me to come and talk? And then it didn't happen for like 6 months. But I was like, you know what? I'm staying consistent because I believed in myself. I don't need anybody to believe in me, because I know he does. God believes in me. And so when he believes in me and he told me what to do, and here's the thing, there's so many of us that are pre-wired with so many different things already inside of us. A lot of us are wondering what we're supposed to do. Look at your life. What are your desires? Like more than just the materialistic stuff. Like what are you pre-wired to do? And I believe if you begin to look internally, God will begin to reveal it to you. And if you don't know, the amazing thing about God is all you gotta do is ask him and wait. You see that? We don't want to wait though. Yeah, we were like, no, okay. Like we live in a micro, we serve, a crock pot God, but we want him to be a microwave God. Like I want it now. Listen, 30 seconds. Okay. I'm done. Sometimes it's going to take time. I didn't know Reach One was going to be what it was. And I don't know what it's going to be in 5 years, but I'm staying consistent in what he showed me step by step. The Bible talks about he's a lamp unto our feet and a guide unto our path. Why is that? Because I know for me anyway, if he showed me the entire path, I ain't getting there. I'm gonna be in Timbuktu. I'm not
cleaning those toilets. You know what I mean?
For sure. So I would say, man, really, for those who have really audacious dreams, and go for it. Just have a plan. Fail forward. Like I read a book in Teen Challenge by John C. Maxwell. I fail forward. I fall on my face all the time. Even with photography, we started a photography business. I was poop when I first started. I'm decent now, but I failed a lot, and I just kept going because I'm like, you know what? I'll get better. It's not a failure. It's just a learned lesson.
Come on now.
Sure, man.
Okay, so now a funny question. So like, understand you play football, right? What position you play?
I always ask people what they think I play. I play running back.
Running back. Okay. All right, running back. What was your 40 time?
At the combine, I ran a 4.57.
4.57.
At 257 pounds. Anybody that want to doubt that, I'll show you the video. I got it on my phone.
What was that 225 rep look like?
Oh man, all right, that was a little weak back then. So the most I've ever done, or at the combine?
I will do the most you ever done.
I did 34 times, but I was like 290 pounds then.
Okay.
So at the combine, I only did it 20 times.
All right. Very impressive. Very impressive.
I mean, look at you.
I put up 365 5 times this morning, but
I can't even spell 365.
So now, would you be interested in like coaching now? So you're done with the football. Like you're just, that's in the past. That's not Markus anymore.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's your story, but it's not who Markus is going in the future.
There's so many things that I want to do.
Right.
Right. But it's like, I know what he told me to do. And if there's a place and space where that works within what I'm already doing, then I'm just so focused on the goal of reaching the lost. If football comes, I love football, love the game. OH, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to the Buckeyes.
Come on, man, bro.
You know what I'm saying? We dismantled Clemson. We're going to do the same thing to Bama. But
we might have to fight after the show.
I play for Penn State, bro. I'm not fighting you.
Yeah, we got the Big Ten.
When's the last time y'all beat us? But anyway.
I mean, I have 2 Big Ten championship rings against you guys.
How many national championships? All right. In your lifetime. But
that's it. We're going to wrap the show up and fight right now.
But I would love to coach someday. I always thought I wanted boys. Because I'm like, I got all this football knowledge. Like I went through all this for a reason. But I love being a girl dad. Oh my goodness. I love having tea parties, but I hope that my daughters take on some kind of sport. So, because that competitor's still in me.
Right. I see you trying to do those ponytails and all that stuff.
That's right.
I see it, bro.
For sure, man.
And I'm blessed. I'm actually having a Jedediah James Jr.
Come on, somebody.
You know what I mean? And my wife is due
any moment,
bro. She's ready to pop. She's miserable. Let's go in right now. And I'm excited. But most important part about this whole thing is I'm excited my kid's never going to have to see me do drugs.
Man.
You know what I mean? That's powerful. My kid's never going to have to, he might know about it, but he's going to know my struggles and what I've been through, where I'm at now.
From a place of victory.
Right. From a place of victory. And so and I know your kids are going to do the same thing. I mean, they might be young now, but they're going to be like, that's my daddy, right? Absolutely. That's my daddy up there preaching the paint up the walls, right?
Absolutely.
That's awesome, man. For sure. Is there any more questions you want to answer online?
Yeah, I think your wife asked a really good one. I think it's important. Markus, how did you start to forgive yourself? I had to realize that I couldn't fix me. I always tried to fix myself. I always tried to do something. Remember, human doing. I tried to do something in order to get people to like me again. When I was in rehab and it was just me and the Lord, I really came to the realization that, Markus, forgiveness starts within. There may be a lot of people that I hurt that may never, there's some people now that don't like me, that think I'm fake, that think this whole thing is a show, and that's okay.
Right.
But I've learned that their opinions don't matter.
Right.
That I love me.
Yeah.
I used to look in the mirror every single day. How did I forgive myself? I read Job 22:28 every single day when I was in rehab. I had it on my mirror, and it says, I will declare a word, and it will be established for you, and light will shine upon your ways. You're good enough, Markus.
Yeah.
Let's go give hell a hard time. I would say that every single day. I would, people
bro,
who know me, I would say that,
yeah.
I'm giving hell a hard time today. Because I would see a brother that's going through, I'm going to speak life to him.
Right.
Because I was living finally for the first time in my life from a place of identity. So
That does some of those dry bones.
come on, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah,
on.
man.
Talking about, I'm a preacher. You can preach.
Hey, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm getting there.
That's right.
So now your credentials. Now I want to talk about. You went to school and you got some credentials now.
Yeah.
After your addiction and all that stuff, and
sure.
the drive to do that. Like now, what are your credentials right now?
Yeah. So shout out to Mike Savage. He's on my board at Reach One. I never finished high school. I don't have a high school diploma, but I was able to go to college, and Mike actually pushed me to do something that I never thought that I could do. Never thought that I could graduate from college. Just never thought it was possible. And then when I started speaking, I didn't think it was necessary. But he said something to me maybe 4 or 5 months ago. He says, Markus, God calls you a finisher. And for some reason, when he said that, it spoke life to me. I'm like, you know what? So I actually go to SCU right now. I'm getting my bachelor's of science in ministerial leadership with an emphasis in Christian ministry. And so I'll have my bachelor's hopefully by the end of this year.
Right. And there's no tutors doing your work like back in football days.
Nah, man,
like that. It's all Markus right now, right?
I try to get my wife to, I'm like, hey, babe. But she does help me with editing and stuff because, your boy, I'm not the best when it comes to that. But even with my spiritual father, the things that he's done and just, ordaining me and blessing me and helping me realize what God has called me to do. I think discipleship and spiritual fathers are so important. If you don't have that in your life, begin to pray into that. God, bring somebody to my life to call out my destiny. Yeah. And he's done that in ways that I don't have enough time to tell you how thankful I am. But yeah, it's been fun, man. I do believe that education is so important. I used to be that football player. I don't care about school.
Right. I will play ball the rest of my life. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm realizing that revival is both academic and experiential. So you got to have both.
For sure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I graduated from Penn State with a criminal justice and sociology degree. I double majored. And now, I'm going to high school ministry and doing the same. Working up the road. And things I never thought that I was good enough to do.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And I was cared about what other people thought. Absolutely. And as we both battled through to realize, hey, we are good enough.
Absolutely.
In his presence, we are good enough. We got this. So everybody, we were talking about this. Everybody has these voids in their life, right?
Yeah.
And as addicts, we fill them with drugs,
for sure,
and alcohol and whatever else. What are some voids besides God? That you recommend people fill their voids with? You mean fill them with?
For
Everybody's
sure,
like, oh, they're preaching to us right now, and don't get me wrong, we'll preach on here. Sure. But what are some things some addicts and different people could do to fill those voids in their life?
So, in terms of overcoming addiction, so I would say, what's your why? Why? I didn't go to rehab because I had some spiritual experience and I wanted to be this great speaker. I went to rehab because I looked at my daughter and I said, "Hey, Daddy wants to be in your life. What's your why? Why do you do what you do? Do you have kids? Oh, I don't have kids. All right. So, what is it that you desire? Who do you love in this life? We all want to be loved and we all want to love somebody. Who is it that you love? If it takes you doing it for them for a while, do it for them. It doesn't matter. Just get going, get started. And then I personally believe in my prayers that you find the Lord along the way. Right. And one of the things I never do, because I speak in public schools, I don't ever want to come across as preachy. But even though I love preaching the word, I want to preach the gospel and use words when necessary. I believe that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life, but I also understand that everybody believes that. It's not going to change how I love you. I still see you for who you are, regardless if you believe me or not. Find your why, and I believe the Lord will meet you along the way.
Yeah, amen.
For sure, man.
That's it. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. I want to thank Markus for coming in again. Again, we have on Friday, 7 o'clock, Bridge of Hope, 7580 Glenwood Avenue. Show up, show support. If you know somebody that's struggling, bring somebody. Markus, what do you have to say to go out?
Man, guys, listen, even if you aren't struggling with you know, drug addiction, if it's some other form of addiction, if it's working too much, I want to encourage everybody to take 60 seconds every single day at the start of your day to reflect on your why. Why do you do what you do? You're more than a provider. Anybody that believes that they're not good enough, hear me when I say this, you are more than good enough. You are accepted in the beloved.
Yeah.
And you got this and you can make it.
Amen. Good stuff, man.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. All right. Thank you, everybody. We do recover. We'll be back on next week. Thank you for joining in.